Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today we're going to talk about Kiro, which is a brand new AI IDE. We're going to just play around with the features, and I want to bring out the features to make them come alive because it does take a little bit of understanding. So we're going to talk about specs, we're going to talk about MCP. I'm going to build a quick, simple game at the end of it just to show you what this is all about. But of course, let's actually go to the page and see what we're talking about. As I said, this is an IDE, so it does look similar to VS Code because it's based on VS Code, but you do get, of course, the AI assistance. Now, you might be wondering where this is coming from, but Kiro is coming from Amazon and AWS, and that explains why I feel like it's very well thought out and it's very clever. Now, this isn't the first time we've done vibe coding, not by a long shot on this channel. We have, of course, threw things into chatgpt and Google Gemini and just asked it questions, asked it to fix code. That was difficult, but that was helpful still. We moved into an era where we had things like Cursor, where the chatbot was built into our IDE, so we didn't have to keep alt-tabbing. And finally, we started talking about RoboDev, Claude Code, which are these agentic command line tools where we are just telling AI in command line, please create a game where you are running around a haunted house. It just figures out what to do. Um, that's fun and interesting, but doesn't give you enough control. And this is where Kiro really stood out as something that uh, is well thought out, and I think is probably the future, the next few years for developers, much more so than Claude Code or just plain old ChatGPT. Okay, so let's go through the docs very quickly so we understand what Kiro is offering us. Of course, it is built into an IDE. You have to download it. It's kind of nice because it is just download and install all of the major platforms. Doesn't have some of the odd limitations that Claude Code or other command line interfaces have. But what I find most interesting are all these additional features. First, you have the hooks. Then, well, let's go through the docs instead. You have specs, hooks, steering, and MCP. And each of these features adds a lot into what it can do. Now, I think the first one, the easiest one to understand, is steering first. Here we have these three files, basically, markdown files. So you just type in plain text. And what you're going to tell it is, what is your product? What is your tech stack? And what is your project structure? And you can do this in plain English. And of course, you can use AI to help generate it. And so the idea here is that, especially when I was doing this through ChatGPT, I would keep explaining to it, look, I am a web developer. I am using Django in the back end. This is my tech stack. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. And yeah, I didn't type it out every time. I copied and pasted it, but it makes so much sense for these standard steering files to show up. And so here, what we're going to do is we're going to create the steering file right here. And so Kiro is this cute ghost here. You click into it, and what I'm going to do is steering. So I'm going to generate steering docs. And I am going to turn off the automatic because sometimes it assumes I'm opening an existing project. Instead, I started a brand new one. So can you create steering docs for a single page web app using 2D graphics to create a game in which we combine what is a simple game? Tetris and an action RPG. That is, the user will level up and progress against different monsters in a fantasy. Okay, so just throwing out an idea for a game here. Can we do it in a single page web app? It's just a demo with 2D graphics. And I want to combine action RPG and Tetris. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but let's just do this. And while it's going to create these markdown files into the steering page, we are going to go back into the next bit to understand. Okay, so we have steering. Next, we're going to have specs. So really what specs are your design docs or your requirements or your user stories, however you do it. Now, me, frankly, as a hobbyist, I don't do this. This is good practice for seasoned developers, professional developers, and they're obviously there for a great reason. But generally speaking, what specs are what are you expecting out of the software? What are the inputs and outputs? What should each of the features do? Now, depending on what project you're working on, those can look pretty different. I mean, how you want to approach those spec documents. So, for example, if you are purely a numbers script, all of this is analysis, you want clear inputs and outputs, those kind of expectations. But if you are more about user experience, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're more talking about how the user journey should be, how the user should feel, how the user will interact with different things. So again, this makes a lot of sense. You start with steering, give it your big picture of what is it you're trying to achieve with the project. Then you drill down into the specs. What is it you want to have input and output? Okay, and for us, our specs are going to be very simple. I just want a playable demo, one stage. I just want to see a playable Tetris game at the bottom, and at the top, I want to see some elements of an action RPG to see my character get more powerful as I clear lines in Tetris, let's say. So pretty basic. And so let's see how we're doing here. Good. Um, so let's close up Kiro here, the chatbot, and see what we have. So the game concept is simple. Tetris integration, RPG elements, they put in a combat system, technical requirements. So this is exactly what I said, thrown out quite a bit. Interesting that they fleshed out the idea so that I'm not sure what O pieces are. I guess, uh, well, because I'm sorry, I'm stuck because Tetris has the I block, the L block, the T block, but I'm not sure what an O. Oh, that must be the square. Okay, so different blocks have different abilities to power you up. I think that's pretty cool. That's a good idea. Combat systems, whatever. We have development standards, so using JavaScript, error handling, this all makes sense. UI, UX guidelines, none of this I've thought about. And of course, we can go in and make changes. So if I think this is a terrible idea, I think O pieces should be, well, we have lightning attack. Maybe it should be fire and water attack. Or maybe I don't like these. I can make those changes. So the next bit is I want to do specs. So I am going to, I don't remember what the the Okay, that's not what I intended to do. I think it's Control L. There we go. I hit Windows L, and of course I locked my screen, but Control L, I want to spec. So can you help me build out my spec? I see that there is already some basic tech architecture in the steering files, and I want you to understand this is a POC. I just want one playable stage, no menus or in between stage screens. The stage should have a playable Tetris window, and at the top and on the side, I should see my character progress and level up while fighting monsters. Okay, so now it is including all these things. That means that it's taking all our markdown, including it into the prompt, and it's going to try and create the specs for me. So I'm going to watch this right here. Well, maybe this will take a while. So let's move on. Now that we have our steering, which is our vision, our specs, which is more details about what we want, and of course those will change over time, we can talk about hooks as the next major feature. Hooks are really, really useful because what they're going to do is allow you to automate those pieces. You know how lots of people used to talk about test-driven development, where you create these tests? I feel like hooks appeals to the same group of people, which is not me, again, as a hobbyist. But the idea is every time you do something, if you want to double check, if you want to run a test, if you want to run some code, if you want to boot it up, you can. And so here, some of the suggestions I has is every time it saves a file, every time it creates a file or deletes a file, you run something, whether that is AI based, so agentic, or run a piece of code, you can do that. And so one way that I would think about it is every time you save the file, I want you to run all of my test suite. That's old school thinking, not vibe coding thinking, but completely possible here. And completely possible before too. Every time your files get updated, you run all the tests all over again. Here, if we're thinking a little beyond that, every time you save a file, I want you to run the test, but also see if it actually improved. And on an AI side, that can mean a lot of things. They might run the app and see if there are graphical glitches, whether it looks better, whether it performs as well. But I think because we're so early in AI still, the capabilities are rough. It's being used more as a, hey, every time you save a file, can you do the very obvious check of, does this make sense? Does this work with the rest of my code? All of that, which I have done so much of in Claude Code and those agentic files. So this makes a lot of sense because, again, I just have a notepad filled with all of these instructions I use afterwards to go, hey, do these things still work after you did all the random things? So let's take a look and see. And we have our specs, I think. Oh, I think. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm still not following fully the lingo here. When it said spec, I think that is more the planning session. Um, that's fine. We'll just have to wait it out. And while we're doing that, we'll finally talk about MCP very, very briefly here. MCP, Model Context Protocol, I don't think it needs any introduction at this point. Pretty much all the tools have it now, but basically it is a standard interface that allows Kiro to connect to OneDrive, Dropbox, your Jira, or your Microsoft Office or your Notion. Basically, a lot of ways to connect, and all of these are being built just by AI now. I need you to connect to my OneDrive. Can you build an MCP or find an MCP to do so? And it will. Um, I frankly still have not made a lot of use of this. I am not a professional programmer, so all of this is local as long as it has access to my files locally on my computer. For the most part, it works fine, but it is good to see. Okay, let's implement. I don't think you need to watch me keep going through this, so I am going to stop talking and we're going to run through me using Kiro, and then I will show you how this game looks at the very end. Okay, so let's check it out. Now, there is a bug here, and that killed me, and it's that I cannot turn the eyepiece, and that ruins the ability for me to actually get any Tetrises. Um, Very tricky. But, oh, why is that? All right, let's refresh and start anew. And just so you can see, there is a perfectly functional Tetris game here. And if I clear a row, you can see, yes, I dealt 16 damage. This is actually rigged to be pretty hard, especially without the ability to turn. Okay, losing is not fun. Oh, but you can see the elements are all here. I have my own health and level, and I'm trying to kill an orc, and he's continually damaging me. There's obviously a problem. I can't turn all the pieces. Um, and I'm also noticing every time it does damage, I'm not seeing it go down. And then eventually, I will just die, I think. There we go. I'm not actually sure where the score comes in either. It might be that I actually have to kill the orc to get to uh, the to get my score going up. But I wanted to show all of this because I think that is really cool. Now I can go back in, and one, I can certainly go into the chat and vibe code continually and say, hey, the L piece isn't working, or the long piece isn't working and I can't get it to spin. But alternatively, if everything was working, I can just ask it, okay, let's change the specs now. I want it so that it's more friendly to mobile. I want it so that the orc actually looks like an orc, not just a brown face with a smiley face on it. I could talk about, hey, I really hate how they structured it. So like looking at the files here, I'm actually, this is very standard way of doing this, but let's say I don't like how this is split up. I want the player and the, I don't know why I do that, but let's say the combat and the game should go together, and then Tetris is a separate element, two separate elements, and split them up. I can just go in here, talk about the specs, and alter all of those. And so all of it is so clear. Look, damage calculation. If I was saying it was really hard, I can fiddle with these multipliers right now. If I think the level's too hard, all of it is Really nicely done. And then I could just bring up Kiro and say, look, I altered the design specs. Can you now change the code to reflect the new multipliers? Anyways, I'm gonna stop there. I think I've talked long enough, but I wanted to showcase all the different pieces because, um, yeah, it's a new IDE, but I think it's a different way of thinking that other tools haven't taken a very close look at yet. And I hope everyone gets to try it out. This is all free for now. I'm sure it'll cost money in the future. Um, $19 a month, but yeah, it could get quite expensive over time. But for now, it's all free. So play around with it, learn about it. I've never really done design docs or specs, so it's all a learning experience as well. Thanks for watching. We'll do another video next week, and I hope to see you there. Bye.